I want to talk to you about mentoring because this is, my life was changed because of the mentors that have come into my life. I mentor others. I mentor all of our Maxwell Leadership Certified trainers. I mentor them and they mentor, oh my gosh, they mentor literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And they have a passion, I'm sure, to mentor you and to come into your life. So let's talk about mentoring. And the question that we have is how do we develop a mentoring mindset? How do we develop a mindset? A mindset, let me explain to you what that is. A mindset is a disposition. It's an intention. Um, it's a way of thinking. How do we develop an intentional way of thinking that causes us to want to be mentored by others and gives us a passion to want to mentor others? This is really huge. I happen to have one of my mentors was very well known, Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker was the greatest management guru expert of the last century. And I had the privilege of sitting at his feet. And I'll never forget the last time we were together, he challenged me and he said, John, who are you mentoring? Who are you developing that can carry on the principles and the values that you love, embrace, and live out in your life? And he just challenged me again to make sure that I filled my life with mentoring. He challenged me in such a way is that I after that, I bought a painting, and it's in my office today, in my home office. And wherever I move, that painting goes with me. So it's been with me for a long, long time. And it's an incredible painting. It's not like a beautiful painting. It's not like an expensive painting, but it's a picture of an older brother with a younger brother right beside him. And he's teaching the younger brother how to draw. There you see the painting right before your eyes. And the reason you can see that painting is because I'm in Andrew's studio, and Andrew's absolutely the best. And I gave him that, and he put it up there for us. But can you see the older brother is doing the drawing, but look at the younger brother so intently watching. Now here's what I know. The older brother gets great joy out of showing his younger brother how to draw. But that younger brother, he's going to draw faster and better than he would have if he wouldn't have had an older brother, a mentor, to come into his life and come alongside of him and help him. You know, Malcolm Gladwell is a wonderful author and a terrific friend. And in his book, The Turning Point, he has a phrase he calls the law of the few. And the law of the few, he says, is very simple. It's the leverage that a leader can have in his or her life by investing in a few people. In other words, basically, he says there's an amazing return. There's an amazing return when you begin to pour your life and invest your life in just a few people. And I love that. And that's exactly how I started off in my life, just in a little country church, just investing in a few people. And I began to see the return that happens when leaders invest in other people. So what people say about me today is John Maxwell adds value to leaders, you. And what happens when I add value to leaders? They multiply value to others. And so I'm so excited to share with you a little bit about mentoring and the mindset. And again, all of you that are Maxwell certified team members, thank you. You made this possible for everyone to hear me today. Without you, I wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be here. But let me just say, the person that invited you to be part of this teaching right now, they did so because they value you. And they have a real passion to invest in you and to mentor you and to take you to a higher level than you can go if you just do it by yourself. Remember this, one is too small of a number to achieve greatness. It just is. If you want to achieve greatness, you have to do it with others. So let's talk about mentoring. And one of the things I teach in mentoring is that the word mentor is both a verb, it's something you do, and it's a noun. It's something you are. So when we think of mentoring today, think of the fact, this is what I do and this is who I am. And you don't separate the behavior, what you do, with the characteristics and the qualities and the values of a person. This is who I am. This is what I do. And in mentoring, you get the spirit of the person, who they are, and you get the teaching of the person by watching what they do. So here we go. A mentoring mindset has several characteristics. Number one, a mentoring mindset has a passion for growth. The only guarantee that you and I are going to have a better tomorrow is that we're growing today. So when I talk to them about their future, and they say, well, I really hope things really work out well. And I look at them and say, hope's not a strategy. The only guarantee that John Maxwell has that next month will be better than this month is that I'm growing this month. And again, going back to one of my early mentors, Kurt Kampmeyer, when we were having breakfast that day, and he looked at me and he said, John, I just want you to know, I want you to understand that growth is not an accident. You need to grow. And when I did that, I said, I've got to get a growth plan, and I've got to get a mentor. I've got to get somebody that's further down the road than I am that can take me to a whole new level. And so I heard Earl Nightingale say one day that if I would spend 1 hour a day, 1 hour on the same subject for 5 years, 1 hour every day, same subject for 5 years, that I could become an expert on that subject. And I was passionate in my 20s about leadership, so I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend 1 hour every day on the subject of leadership for 5 years. And my thought, because I was just in my 20s, I was a little naive. My thought was, in 5 years, Earl Nightingale says I'll become an expert. So wow, here, I'm on my way to becoming a leadership expert. So every day, an hour every day, 5 years, every day, I'm reading about leadership. I'm talking to leaders. I'm asking questions. I'm practicing leadership every day. And I had this idea because Earl Nightingale said 5 years I could become an expert. So I said, okay, I've got 5 years here. And so I literally started I had a countdown. Okay, wow, I finished year 1. I've only got 4 years left before I'm an expert. Wow, I finished year 2, 3 years. And, how long will it take? Well, how long will it take? Well, how long will it take? Well, 5 years. How long will it take? And then something happened just about in the middle of that 5-year period. And the beautiful thing that happened in my life was I was beginning to change. Because I was learning leadership, practicing leadership, meeting leaders, getting in leadership environments, and having opportunities to lead, about halfway into this 5-year journey, I realized I was a better leader. And that I was growing and people were following me and my leadership was expanding, and I began to be incredibly overjoyed and fulfilled. And I thought, look at me. Wow, I'm becoming a leader. It was that day I quit asking the question, how long will it take? It was that day I changed. Because now I was beginning to grow. That's the result of being mentored. You learn and you grow, and all of a sudden, you're better. And I quit asking, how long will it take? And I started asking, how far can I go? How far can I go? No longer was I on a 5-year plan to be an expert on leadership. Now I'm on a life plan to become an expert in leadership. And by the way, those 5 years have passed several times now in my life, and 50 years, 10 5-year plans later, 50 years later, I'm still asking the question, how far can I go? How far can I go? I'm not even there. I'm not yet to the finish line. This is huge. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. You don't want to miss this. You really, really don't. A mentoring mindset just has a passion to learn and grow and expand. And I had one of my other mentors, and you'll hear me talk all throughout this lesson about mentors of mine, because honestly, you cannot achieve what I'm talking about without a mentor. You got to have somebody walk in your life and say, let's do this together. Let me show you the way. I had another mentor of mine one time when we were talking about growth, and he said, let me define growth to you, John. And here I am ready for some big definition on growth. And he just looked at me, he smiled, and he said, growth is happiness. It's happiness. He said, you show me a happy, fulfilled person, and I'll show you a person that's growing. They're learning. They're expanding. They're still stretching toward that finish line. I remember I was mentoring a young man named Courtney McBath. It was my first time with him, really. And my first time whenever I mentor somebody is when I try to gauge how passionate they are to learn and grow. Because honestly, I could either spend time with people or invest time with people. When you spend time with people, you're taking time with people who really aren't intentional and passionate about growth. When you invest time with people, now you're talking about people that really want to grow and make a difference. But I like Courtney a lot, and we had a really good mentoring session. And so about, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, he called me on the phone. He lived in a different state. And he said, John, he said, you really helped me with my last mentoring session. And he said, I would like to have a little time with you again, but before you say yes, now notice how he valued my time. He said, before you say yes to mentoring me another time, let me just talk to you about the last session. When we were together in the last session, this is what you said, and this is what I heard, and let me tell you, this is what I learned, and this is what I did, and did I do it right? And then, may I ask you some more questions? Well, I said, of course you could ask me some more questions. Look at the return that Courtney he had such a passion for growth. This is what you said. This is what I heard. This is what I learned. This is what I did. Did I do it right? Can I ask you some more questions? Of course. To this day, this is 25, 30 years later, I still occasionally mentor Courtney McBath. Why? Because he has a passion to grow. He has a passion to learn. You see, the best gift that you can give a mentor is that you grow. The reward that I have, and I've had the privilege of mentoring so many people today, when I look at the Maxwell Certified Leadership Certified people on my team, I get so happy because I watch in a few years how much they have grown, how further along they are, how they built their business, how they built their career. There's no amount of money I could ever receive that could ever bring me the return and reward as just watching them grow. I love to watch people grow. My coaches, they love to watch people. They love to grow. They want to help you grow. Okay. A mentor mindset number 2 is where you continually desire to add value to other people. I often say to my team, you're either a river or a reservoir. Now, a river, the water that comes to it just flows right through and goes down through the valleys, and it brings water and replenishment to the soil, and it just travels and blesses the land. Why? Because it's going to where the need is. A reservoir, it's all dammed up. Nobody got help today by the reservoir because it holds water. It doesn't let water flow. And when I talk about desiring to add value to people, I'm reminded again of Napoleon Hill said, the starting point of all achievement is desire. And what I found is that progress, your growth and my growth, your progress today, one of the things I want to make sure you understand is your progress has a price point. And what I mean by that is when people stop growing and making progress, it's not because they lack capacity. It's not because they lack talent or ability. It's because they lack desire. They're unwilling to pay the price to go to the next level, because this is just a fact. You have to give up to go up. If you watch somebody climbing a mountain, as they climb the mountain, they're not collecting things and adding more weight to their climb. No. They're taking as few essentials as possible, because the climb is hard. And sometimes to get a little higher, you got to give something up. You've got to give up to go up. And I can remember when talking about a desire, a passion, a hunger to add value to other people. I can remember, 20 years ago now, maybe 25. I can remember very well when my personal success, the success that I was enjoying, the joy of seeing other people become successful began to be higher than my own personal success. I mean, I had spent a lot of years being highly successful and been there, done that. And then all of a sudden I realized I get more joy out of your success than my success. One of the reasons I started this incredible coaching company, the reason that we began our Maxwell Leadership Certification Program, is because I just literally got excited, really excited about your personal growth and your personal development and where you were on your journey. And again, with, 40-some thousand coaches in 172 countries of the world, my greatest joy is when one of our coaches is making a difference with someone else. So somebody asked me recently, because I just turned 75, they said, John, what is your greatest accomplishment now that you've turned 75? And I thought about it. Was it writing books? I write books. I'm writing a book right now that I'm very excited about. In fact, I've written almost 100 books, I guess, and 36 million of them have been sold. In fact, they now say I've written more leadership material than any person's ever lived in the history of the world. But if somebody said, is writing books, is that your greatest accomplishment? I'd say, well, it was a pretty big accomplishment, but it wasn't my greatest. Well, how about speaking? I mean, you speak around the world. I've spoken over 13,000 times. Yeah, that's big, but no, that's not my biggest accomplishment. But how about all of your honors and recognitions? Well, those are nice, but no, that's not my biggest. And how about the fact you're a founder of 7 companies? Well, that's good. Yeah, but that's not my biggest accomplishment. Well, how about money? You made a lot of money. Yeah, that helps. But no. You see, my biggest accomplishment is mentoring people and adding value to people just like you. My biggest accomplishment is having Maxwell certified trainers that literally, I mentor them and then they mentor people like you. And all of a sudden my mentoring explodes and expands. And this is my greatest joy in adding value to people like you. Again, I already know what I can do. But now I'm having a journey of my life watching what my certified trainers can do and what they accomplish through their mentoring too. So a mentoring mindset is one that continually desires to add value to people. A mentoring mindset has a passion for personal growth and development. Number 3, if you have a mentoring mindset experiences personal success in the area that they mentor others. Don't miss this. If I mentor you, I should only mentor you in what I do exceptionally well. There are many things I don't mentor anybody in at all. When people say, would you be my mentor for life? I said, no, you don't need me to be a mentor for life. Now, if you want to mentor for leadership, if you want to mentor for success, if you want to mentor for speaking and communicating, if you want to mentor to help you learn how to write, hey, I'm your guy. Or in this case, all of my Maxwell certified trainers and people, they're your person, because we're really good at this. And so you mentor people in the area of their success. When I equip people, there are 5 steps to equipping them. And the first step is I do it. And I tell those, if you're going to equip people in your organization, your company, on your team to do something, the first thing you need to do before you teach someone else and equip them is to do it yourself. And not only do it yourself, but to do it very well. Like reproduces like. There are 5 things in our passion and our mission in our company that we're really good at. We call it CLEAR, CLEAR. We're really good at communication. We're really good at leadership. We're really good at equipping. We're really good at attitude. We're really good at relationships. That's a huge lane that we work in and coach and mentor. Because what we know and what we've discovered is people do what people see. Stanford research says 90% of everything that you and I know in life, we saw it visually first. Wow, 90%. So it's very important for you to be mentored by a coach that does it. Is there something beautiful when that coach or that mentor says, here, follow me, watch me, let me show you how this is done. You see, example is essential in mentoring. We have a wonderful expression in our Maxwell enterprise that says everyone deserves to be led well. I love that expression. In fact, I'm most leadership sad when I see countries, companies, organizations, teams that aren't led well. I look at it and say, how sad. They could live a much better life. They could live a much higher life, but they're not led well. So in our Maxwell enterprise companies, we work very hard on helping our people know how to lead well, because you deserve it. If you're going to have a mentor, if you're going to learn leadership, if you're going to learn how to speak, write, all these things are important to success in your life. If you deserve somebody that really does it and knows how to do it, that you deserve to be led well. Everybody deserves that. And trust me, example is the core of leading well. Because again, people do what people see. Okay, let's just review quickly. A mentoring mindset has a passion for growth. A mentoring mindset continually desires to add value to others. A mentoring mindset, a way of thinking, experiences personal success in the areas that they mentor others. Let's go to number 4. If you have a great mentoring mindset, okay, what you do is you pass on success through proximity and consistency. Both of those are so important. You see, there is a catching part of mentorship, and I don't want you to miss it. You see, who you learn from is as important as what you learn. My father taught me this at a very young age. He taught me about the fact that you're not only seeking information and knowledge on how to do something well, but you're seeking an attitude and a spirit that can be passed on to you by that person that mentors you. That you see, the catching part, the teaching part is quite objective. The catching part is quite subjective. But as I look at the mentors that I have had in my life, I've had wonderful mentors who taught me what they knew, and it really helped me. But as important as teaching me what they knew, there was the catching part of who they were that built within me the spirit of greatness. You see, there's the mind of greatness of what we know, but there's the spirit of greatness based on who we are. And that is based on proximity and consistency to somebody coaching you and teaching you, and you can see them and listen to them and ask questions and watch them and catch that spirit from them. One of my well-known mentors was John Wooden, who was in America, in the United States, was a very famous basketball coach. In fact, he was named the most successful coach of the 20th century. Very successful, had a college basketball team that won 10 national championships, great teacher. I had the privilege of having him as a mentor, okay? I'll never forget the first time that I went out to see him in Los Angeles. We had literally spent a day, a day of him pouring into me, and it was so rich and so rewarding. He lived in a condo, and so I went out of his condo in an elevator that took me down to a parking garage, and visitors didn't park in the parking garage. They parked outside. So I went through the gate, walked through the gate, and I'm walking now outside parking lot toward my car. I get to my car, just get ready to open the car door, and I just intuitively felt that I needed to turn around. And when I turned around, I looked back at where Coach Wooden lived on that second floor of that condo. And there he was. He stood on the balcony, and he was watching me. And when I turned to look at him, he flashed a big smile and a wave. He just waved to me. I'll never forget that. I got in that car and I just said, I caught something. I caught the spirit of a man who's highly successful, who desperately wants me to be successful. I caught who he was. That was the day as I drove away that I realized big people make you feel bigger. There's a feeling that, they accomplish great things, and guess what? I can accomplish great things too. I just thought that was absolutely huge in my life. I'll never forget it. I'm very grateful because it taught me as a mentor of others to not only, it's not what only I say, but it's who I am, and it's my attitude, it's my spirit, it's my kindness, it's my humility, it's my character, all those things. That's the contagious spirit that you want to. So you catch a contagious mentorship, successful attitude until one day it's yours, and you say, "Wow, I'm not only changing mentally in what I know, I'm changing internally. I'm being transformed. I'm becoming a new person." This is huge in mentoring. Not only what did they teach me, but what did I catch from them that just was such an incredible, beautiful attitude? My father, who passed away at the age of 98, he was the president of a university, and he was a great president, and the university grew greatly under him, and the students loved him because every day during breaks, he would walk out on the campus, and he would talk to the students and call them by name and ask them how they were doing. And his attitude and spirit was contagious. And these kids, they just grew, they graduated from the university as champions. They were champions. Now, for many, many years after he was no longer the president of the university, he moved to Florida, maybe about 1,000 miles away from the university. But on a weekly basis, these kids from the school that they graduated from, they would come to Winter Haven, Florida, and they would call ahead, and they would make an appointment to see my dad. And even when my dad was up in his 90s, they would come to see him and kind of maybe come to encourage him. And they all told me the same thing. I went to encourage your dad, and I left encouraged. It's that spirit. It's that contagiousness of a mentor that I'm talking about. We really work hard with our, Maxwell certified coaches, trainers, to make sure that they have that spirit, that attitude within them that is contagious with people like you when they pour into and mentor them. The fifth kind of mindset and quality of a person that does well in this area is that they possess the quality of humility. They really do. Humility is essential because it makes a person teachable. So whenever you run into somebody that's been successful and they kind of say, well, been there, done that, you can almost mark it that they lack humility, that they've stopped learning, they've stopped growing, they've stopped asking questions, they've lost that hunger. Wow. In life, when you're successful, there begins to become a gap between between the successful person and other people. And what I teach my coaches is you got to close that gap. If you want fans, you widen that gap. You're here and they're way down here. But if you want friends, you just close that gap. And how do you close that gap? You close it by caring, and you close it by being open and transparent. I don't think people want a perfect leader. I think they want an authentic leader. So you close that gap by walking into people's lives and talking not only about your successes, but talking about your failures. We've taught all of our Maxwell Leadership Certified trainers. We've taught all of them to be honest about their journey and about their losses and their misses and their failures, because I've had some, they've had, we all have some. In fact, I would just say to you, if you're being mentored by somebody that I've mentored, they're going to tell you that you keep success and failure together. You don't separate them. Now, our culture and our world separates them. They say, be successful, don't fail. Succeed over there. Oh my gosh, don't fail. Do it right. Don't miss it. And we separate success and failure. Success and failure were never meant to be separated. They were meant to be kept together continually. You need them always side by side, because success makes failure better and failure makes success better. Let me explain. If you're succeeding really well, you're on a momentum success rule, you need to keep failure real close, because failure will keep you humble. And you'll not become arrogant in your wins, and you won't become delusional in the fact that it's always going to be this way. So with success, you need to keep failure close by, because it gives you humility. And by the way, if you're failing a lot and you're in the ditch, you need to keep success right beside you, because when you're not feeling good and you're not doing well, if you keep success attached to your failure, it will give you resiliency. And resiliency and humility are two essential qualities in life that you really want to have. And humility, oh my gosh, once you have humility in your mentoring with your people, once you speak about your losses and your failures, you just breathe encouragement into people, because now all of a sudden there's not this gap between the mentor and the mentee, and success and a person not yet achieved that success. We now bring them together, and we close that gap. I was just speaking last weekend to 15,000 people in Las Vegas at the Thomas Mack Arena. And I was talking to them about mentoring, and I was talking to them about adding value to people and coming alongside of people and possessing a spirit of humility. And as I was teaching them, I taught them about keep failure and success together. And there was such an incredible response. And the response was the fact that we all of a sudden made the mentors human. We all of a sudden let everyone become self-aware that we're not there yet. I'm on a journey. I'm not arrived. I'm not to the top of the mountain. I'm not there resting, looking down at all of you, waiting for you to come. No, I'm still climbing myself.
John was up there staggering.
Oh,
how do I apply this one to leadership? One of the funniest moments I can ever remember was that moment. What's been some of your, what's been?
Well, I'll never forget. Well, first of all, when she said the word, my hearing isn't 100%. In fact, I have hearing aids. And when she said the word, Mark, honestly, I thought I misunderstood her.
You asked her to say it again.
Hey, let me define stupidity. Stupidity is asking, as I did, I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm a little hard of hearing. Could you say the word one more time?"
And told her to slow down.
Yeah, I said, "Can you?"
And she did.
Slow down a little more clearly for me. And I'll never forget, she leaned into me. And again, she said the F word. And now I know what she has said. I also know she didn't mean it, but all I hear is that. And there are like 1,000 people behind me. They were coaches. We were at a conference in the earlier years, and they all heard the same word that I heard. And there's about 3 minutes or 3 seconds, not minutes.
It
3
felt
seconds.
like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like of awkward silence of where I'm saying, okay, what do I do with the F word? And so about 3 seconds in, all of a sudden I just went, ah! And I started laughing, and the place broke up. If you remember, for 5 minutes, we couldn't get them back together. We'd start to do another minute with Maxwell, and somebody'd start laughing. We'd have to pull it back. It was truly one of the, unforgettable, but one of the most funny moments of my entire life.
You've had world leaders do Minute with Maxwell. You've had a good time. So 2011, we start Minute with Maxwell that's literally impacted hundreds of thousands of people a year.
Mark, everywhere I go.
Yep.
I go nowhere without people coming up and say, I watched Minute with Maxwell.
Yeah. So 2012, we got the first year under our belt, and this was the year that we introduced the mentorship program to John Maxwell team. And now we have 42% of our John Maxwell team certified members that joins our mentorship program. Why do you think mentorship is so important?
Well, first of all, I think that percentage is really high, 42% to go on to a different level, which is not only you're going to learn a lot more, but there's a financial commitment to be in the mentorship program. But I do know why it's a success. We've run the mentorship program long enough now to know that mentorship program really makes a difference. Mm-hmm. In fact, now correct me, you would know more than I would. You're much closer to the numbers than me. But I would highly suspect that 95% of the people that are successful in the John Maxwell team, it would be a very high percentage, I would think, that are successful in the John Maxwell team also are in the mentorship program.
That's correct.
And there's a relationship between going a little further and going a little deeper and being more successful. And I think it is because of the mentoring that they get, the continual mentoring. I mean, the weekly calls, all of the things that in the mentorship program we provide for people. It's almost like holding their hand step by step. Here's how you go to the next step. I think that combined with the fact that when they re-up or they up for the mentorship program with their time and with their money, they're also showing their commitment to really do something about it. They want to have more than just a name that says I'm a John Maxwell certified coach. They really want to help people and make a difference and make a career and have a business. They're entrepreneurial, some of them, and they want to be successful.
You know, and I want to move to 2013, but I got to tell you this. In 2011, you were 64 and you were getting mentored. In 2021, you're 74, you're still getting mentored.
Totally.
And what I love about mentorship, what I love about everything about John Maxwell team, it's not a good idea that you tell other people how to do it. You live it every single day, including me. I mean, just the last couple of weeks, you've been being mentored by global leaders on how to lead in where we are today.
Yeah, and I will always have a mentor.
Right.
In fact, I can't imagine you not having a mentor. I cannot imagine you not having somebody that's gone before you that has experience that you don't have and knowledge that you don't have and advice that you need and not tapping into it. And so I think the John Maxwell team, the people go into mentorship program, they just go deeper. Mm-hmm. And when you go deeper in your experiences, you can go wider in your influence. And I think that's why it's been so successful.
So I will come back and let you make a couple of closing comments. But before we run out of time, believe powerfully in the power of mentorship and what roles John's for me and others like you have played in my life. I'm rich because of the people, the relationships, the people that's helping you. You wrote this chapter that says, seek out mentors and get unstuck. Yeah. Talk to me about the role of mentors and what you need to look for in mentors so they can help you.
Yeah, and I think for me, it may have been because of my father and my relationship when I was younger wasn't as good as it should be because of the challenges. And so for whatever reason, I've always sought people that knew more than me in a particular area. And one of the things I also want to caution people on, Mark, is that don't have one mentor for all your areas of life, okay? You could have a business mentor that certainly might not be your spiritual mentor. Now, they need to have a similar world outlook and faith outlook, but they may be different. So what I encourage people to do is, again, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, is to go out and find people. And what you will find is that people want that. My son-in-law came to me yesterday. We have Sunday night dinners. I guess it was Sunday night. And he said, hey, I'm having dinner with the former CEO of the organization I'm working with, having lunch with him. What should I do? And I said, first of all, people love to do that because he had asked for it. My son-in-law had asked for it, which I was proud of him for doing that. And I said, have 3 or 4 questions written down. That's what John taught us that. I said, don't have 20 like you used to do with Coach Wooden, but have a few. And then just ask him questions about himself, and then ask him questions about how can you be better?
Yep.
Ask him, how can you be better? And that's what I would always ask John. John, this is the area I'm struggling with. How am I thinking wrong? How can I be better in this? And then be quiet. But you need to seek out those, because the only way you're going to get stuck from where you are is to get somebody that can get that handle and pull it out. Because you can't, if you're sitting in the cargo and you're not moving, you can't go anywhere. So that's the thing.
You got to have somebody to help pull that wagon.
You do.
It's one of my favorite words. It's the word mentor. I have loved mentoring other people through my 43 or 44 years of my career. But my first and foremost mentor in my life 40 years ago was John Maxwell himself. He asked me to join his staff right after I graduated from college. I did not know what I was doing, but he saw lots of passion in me, and he groomed me and cultivated me. And I watched his mentoring in my life turn into incredible, not just wise counsel, but great example. I'll never forget one trip John and I took. We had our wives with us. So John and Margaret, Pam and I were in another city. We did an event together. And then we found ourselves at a shopping mall afterwards, just relaxing. And everybody in the group, all 3 of the others, said, Tim, you need to get a new suit. You're wearing old suits. You need to get a new suit. Well, I never see that I need new clothes. So I said, all right, I'll buy it. And I literally had to buy it. So we're all shopping for me, but I've got to fork out the money. Well, they all picked a very, very expensive suit, one that I would have never purchased had I been my opinion, but it was a very nice suit. When I got the suit, all 3 of them kind of gang up on me and said, now you need to get a matching tie. I said, I do not have the money to get a matching tie. There is no way. I've already spent my wad just getting this suit. Well, they all kind of, it's turning into a joke, but they all say, you ought to get a tie. You ought to get a tie. You don't have a tie that matches. And I said, well, there's 2 that work, but I am not buying it right now. I'll get it later. So I make the purchase. We all walk out and we start walking down the mall hallway. And we notice about 5 minutes later, John's not with us. And we're going, where's John? Where's John? We see him walking up to us. He has a bag in his hand and he hands me the bag. And inside of it were the 2 ties that matched the suit. That's how John has treated me for 4 decades. His generosity, his mentorship, he has modeled as well as he has taught and instructed, and he has instructed well. But I just want to encourage you, sure, you need mentors in your life, but maybe it's time for you to step up and mentor someone else.
So for those people that are learning the 360-degree leadership, they're not necessarily somewhere that's making these opportunities readily available for them. Other than just adding value, where can they go to learn? What are principles of leadership that they should be taking in this sort of abstract learning that they can then apply?
Well, I think that there are several things. First of all, in the beginning, I couldn't find anybody to mentor me in leadership. I mean, they didn't know who I was. And so books became my mentors. And then I did something that I just encourage everybody to do. I've done this for 40 years. Is I began to have what I call learning lunches. And I loved it in your green room, your statement on learning. I just love it. But I would go out, I would take somebody like you, Tom, out and I'd buy the lunch. I didn't even eat, I just had questions. And I would ask you leadership questions. And I would.
What are some of your go-to leadership questions?
Well, the first question is I always look at somebody and I ask them, tell me about your greatest failure. And the reason I ask that is because I think that the character of a person comes out of their failures, not out of their success. And I think that the bedrock part of foundation of leadership is character. and you build on it. And so I want to know about, what tell me about a mess up in your life. And I've had so many of them. I mean, when people ask me that question, it's kind of like, which one do I pull out? But I really like to talk to people about their losses, because it just really tells me a lot about who the person really is. I'm not sure success does, but I know failure does. So I ask that. I ask one of the questions I ask them is, who do you know that I should know? And that's led me to meet some incredible people in my life that somebody else opened the door that I wouldn't have had. So I just find that in asking questions, in fact, I wrote a book one time, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. I just find in asking questions, that's the way that I can grow and develop myself the best. And I tell leaders all the time that before you lead people, you got to find them. And I think this is a big miss in leadership. We just assume people are already on our page, and so we just start leading, and we've never found them. And so I think there's a finding, and in these...
Give me a little more detail on that. So you're talking about finding what they want, what they like, what's important to them.
Find out who they are. The expression, Tom, it's lonely at the top. Now, that's not a leadership expression, although people say it all the time in the context of leadership. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you're lonely at the top, it's not a leadership issue, it's just the fact you're dysfunctional. But if you think about it, if you're lonely at the top, no one's with you, no one's following you. I mean, that's a hiker, not a leader. And I think one of the things that leaders need to do, one of the first things is they need to get off the top.
That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that if I'm the leader, I don't ask you to come to where I am. I go to where you are. I get on your ground because people are more secure in the areas that they're comfortable. And so I always go to where they live and who they are, and begin a relationship with them and ask questions and get to know them. Just get to know them, because managers try to lead everybody the same, whereas leaders understand that you lead everyone differently. You lead them according to their temperament, according to their passion, according to their giftedness. I mean, there are about a dozen things that you lead them according that is unique to every individual. And so the only way I can lead you correctly, Tom, is to know you, so I know what you care about and I know what you value. And the moment I do that, then I put all my leadership with you in context of who you are, not who I am. So finding people really means to intentionally value them and show that you value them by learning about them and getting to know them and doing. Then you lead them with their best interest in mind, which is a beautiful way to lead people.
Question number 3. How do they mentor me? In this part, I'm going to really talk about, I'm going to talk about mentoring in a crisis, okay? This one's probably the most crisis-related of the 3 questions. So how do I mentor people right now? Number 1, they give me perspective. During a crisis time, what that mentor will do more than anything else is they'll help us continually see the whole picture. Because in a crisis, we see our picture. And they constantly are expanding us, because what do leaders do? Leaders see more than others see. They see before others see, so they see this whole big picture. It's what I did a few weeks ago. Perhaps you're with me. We had over 1 million people with us. But it's what I did a few weeks ago when I talked about leading during a crisis. And one of the things I did is I said a crisis is quite common. Now, I wasn't trying to undermine or underestimate the coronavirus. I wasn't doing that at all. But what I was trying to do is to help everybody understand that this isn't the first crisis, won't be the last crisis. It's not even the biggest crisis. It's just a crisis. But the tendency is that for emotions to rule during a crisis, to where we think that what we're in right now is the worst thing that's ever happened, and it's never happened before, and it's never been so bad, and it's just not true. My good friend Simon Sinek, we were texting back and forth the other day, and he said, "John, listen to this," and he sent me a great podcast. And basically on it, he was talking to his team. And one of the things he said is, he said to them, these are not unprecedented times. In other words, I want you to know, Simon's saying to his team, don't ever think that like this is the biggest, worst thing that's ever happened and I happen to be living during it and I'm right in the middle of it. You see, when we're in a crisis, the number one question people are asking right now is how do we get through this? You know, my gosh, how long is it going to last? How am I going to get through it? Am I going to make it? See, the question shouldn't be how am I going to get through this? The question should be how am I going to get better because of this? How am I going to improve? When the crisis is over, do I come out better or do I come out bitter? And wow, that's a huge issue. And so I want to get perspective in the crisis. I want to make sure that we have reality, but we also have hope. Alan Malawi, a wonderful friend, was the CEO that turned Ford Motor Company around. I mean, it's an incredible story. I think it's called the book, The American Dream. I read it. It's a thick book, but it's an incredible story. And when they were bleeding billions of dollars and Ford was in trouble, and there was a lot of emotion, and they were in a huge crisis. And Alan Malawi's calming influence through all of this. I mean, every day they're checking to see where they are, and are they going backwards still, or are they starting to slow the tide down? And his phrase he continually used was, "It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. We're going to make it. It's okay, it's okay." Well, all Alan Malawi was doing is he was just giving perspective. He was not only giving perspective, he was showing perspective in a crisis. So how do they mentor me? Well, the first thing, they give me perspective. Number two, they share out of their personal life. Now, this one I just am passionate about, and I want to do a good job. I hope I do a good job for you. What I'm saying here is when I talk about they share out of their personal life, most mentoring is telling, where if I'm mentoring you, I sit down and you would maybe ask questions, and I tell you what I've learned and those type of things. And kind of telling is where you sit down and I tell you what I think you need to know. Sharing, and we're talking about sharing out of our personal life. Sharing is where instead of you sit down, I kind of tell you what I think you probably need to know. If I share with you, I say, you know what, here, sit right beside me. Sit right beside me, okay? And I want you to sit beside me because I want you to experience what I experience. I want you to feel what I feel. I want you to see what I see. I want you to watch me as we're in this crisis. It's the power of proximity to a great extent, but sharing basically is inclusive. It's not, I know something you don't know, I'm going to teach you, although mentoring has that, no question about it. It's kind of like, I'm going to let you on the inside. I'm going to let you see me. It's what I tell communicators all the time. And leaders, do you want fans or friends? If I want fans, I'm going to constantly make sure that my level of excellence is so far above yours that you just can applaud me, but you can say, wow, that man is amazing, but I can never achieve what he achieves. That's the kind of leader that wants fans. If I want friends, I'm going to walk slowly through the crowd. I'm going to have this sharing spirit. I'm going to basically say, Come with me. You can see me. You can see me in my strengths. You can see me in my weaknesses. You can see me with my questions and doubts. You can see me when I'm strong. Just here, sit beside me. Sit beside me. That's powerful mentoring. And in this crisis, that example that you show people is just going to be huge in really developing them well. So, when I have you sit beside me, there are three things I'm going to just make sure that you partake in this journey. One is the source of my strength. If you sit beside me, I want you to see me go to the source. Now, I'm going to have to stop here for a moment and just say to you know this already, but I really always try to keep fairness with all of my friends because I love everybody unconditionally, People that don't have my viewpoints, people that don't have my faith, it doesn't matter. You couldn't stop me from loving you if you tried. Okay, I love you unconditionally, but I am a person of faith. So if you were with me, I would take you to my source of strength. I would take you to the well that I go to where I draw the water. And for me, it's my faith. It's my relationship with God. Every day I'm reading Psalm 112. And the reason I'm reading it is because it's fantastic. And I not only read it, but I pray it. And again, let me just say to you, just close, put your fingers in your ears. You don't want to hear this, but I'm only going to be here for a moment. My name's John. You know you can trust me. I'm your friend. Always have been your friend. But when you read Scripture, it's wonderful. But when you pray Scripture, you put yourself in it. You put yourself in it. And I'm just going to just give me a moment, because in Psalm 112, and I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read just a couple, 3 verses. When darkness overcomes me. Now, see, I'm praying this. I put myself into the Scripture now. When darkness overcomes me, light will come bursting in. I will be kind, merciful, generous, and fair as I conduct my business, so that all goes well with me. I will not be overthrown by evil circumstances. God's constant care for me will make a deep impression on all who see it, and I do not fear bad news, nor live in dread of what may happen, for I have settled in my mind that God will take care of me. And that's why I'm not afraid, but I can calmly face my foes. I will give generously to those in need. My deeds will not be forgotten, and I shall have influence and honor. I love that. I have settled in my mind that God will take care of me. That's my source of strength. In fact, when I am with my beautiful friends that I dearly love, and they're not people of faith, sometimes I look at them and just say, I just wish you had my faith. I'm not trying to convert you. I just wish you had my faith. Because that's where my strength is. That's where my peace is. That's where my joy is. I mean, if you have something that helps you, you want it to help others. And so anyway, I'm done. I'm done with that. I'm just saying to you that in mentoring in tough times, as they sit beside you and you're sharing, you got to let them know where your source is. And your source may not be God. It may not be Scripture. But what's your source? Where do you go for strength? Because you have to have a source that anchors and stabilizes you so you can do that for others. You cannot give what you do not have. Just can't do it. The second thing that I want to do when I'm mentoring a person during a crisis is I want to share with them what I'm experiencing, my emotions. I want to be raw with them, and that's why I want them beside me. See, if I teach them later, I may skip some of my negative emotions, because can I tell you, for example, with the coronavirus, I was over in Israel when it started hitting the world and hitting the United States, and my first emotion to this was anger. I was just mad. And the reason I was angry is because I thought there's a lot of emotional people that are leading, and now the leaders are going to have to respond to a bunch of fearful people. Now, I'm not saying that's the right perspective. It certainly is an emotional perspective, and it was a negative with me because I was angry about it. But if you're beside me, I'm going to tell you I'm angry about this. I don't like it. And then I got really frustrated because as I got back and everything began to cancel, all of a sudden the next 2.5 months, my schedule was all messed up, and I lost. I lost all kind of times when I could help people and add value to them. And one of my losses was I was supposed to go to the Vatican at the end of this month, and Pope Francis had given me the invitation to speak with him on leadership, and we were going to have a master class with the Pope, and all that was gone. And so I was extremely frustrated, and I was disappointed. Okay. But I had positive emotions too. I was invigorated. I mean, I don't mean this unkindly, but during a difficult time, the darkest time is when the leader goes, touchdown, hello, this is why I'm born. This is what I do. This is why I was born for this. So it's invigorating me because it keeps me in my leadership zone all the time. And I have creative emotions because I know there's an answer. So I'm looking for that answer. And I'm grateful right now because I have forced rest time, and it's helped me with my health. And I have a book on transformation, Change Your World, that I've needed to write. And now I've got time to write it. So anyway, but let them sit beside you and let them feel the emotions that you're going through. They need to see that. They need to see your good days, but they need to see your bad days. Remember, people don't want a perfect leader. They want an authentic leader. They'll connect with you. If you want to impress people, talk about your success. But if you want to impact people, talk about your failures. They'll let them in the seat beside you. Let them be close to you at this time. So I'm going to share with you what my source is during difficult times. I'm going I'm gonna share with you what I'm experiencing emotionally during these difficult times. And the third thing I'm going to share with you is what I'm learning. Because there are tremendous lessons to be learned, and I'm working real hard every day saying, okay, what am I learning? So when somebody comes and says, they talk to me about a failure in their life, I care for them, so I listen to their failure. But honestly, as soon as they're done telling about the mess up they've had in their life, the question I have for them is, well, what did you learn? Because the value of failure is us learning something that changes us. So, I started putting some things down on my notes on what I'm learning. I don't have time to give all of them to you, but let me just give a few of them. For example, a crisis will prioritize for us what we won't prioritize for ourselves. That's true. This coronavirus has taken all the stuff that we've been doing, and it's just very quickly said, okay, now what's really important? What's really important? I mean, whether it's going back to values and family, or whether it's going back to relationships we have in life. I mean, what's really important? A crisis just moves us around, and all those priorities, some of those things that we thought was so important, we realized now that wasn't that important. So if we don't prioritize our life, then a crisis or something difficult has to come to kind of shuffle us around so we could look and say, what's really important to me? Another thing I'm learning is that uncertainty causes really more stress than bad news. I give the analogy of going to the airport and wanting to catch a plane when we could go to the airport and get a plane. And so you get there and you get to the gate and you realize the plane's late and you have maybe a connecting flight. And so immediately you ask yourself, can I still get on this delayed flight and make my connecting flight? And so for maybe the next 15 minutes, you're just kind of uncertain, and your stress level goes up because you're not really sure this is going to take on time, and everything's in the air. Everything's uncertain. You just don't know. Well, let's say they all of a sudden come over the intercom and they basically say, look, this plane now is going to start even later than we thought. And so they give us a time. And the time they gave us, we realized, oh, okay, that's horrible news. I'm not gonna make that connecting flight. But the stress level goes down when you know you're not going to make the connecting flight. The bad news is less stress on you than not knowing what's going to happen. Because now that the bad news has happened, you say, okay, now I've got to make alternative plans. It's back into my control. Uncertainty, what makes uncertainty so difficult for us is that it's out of our control. We can't do anything about it. Another lesson that I'm just loving and learning and teaching is that respect is gained on difficult ground. It really is. If you're a leader and you lead well during this crisis for your people, can I tell you something? When you come out of that crisis, the respect they have for you will just heighten. The highest authority is not positional authority, it's moral authority. And moral authority is truly when you have been proven, tested, and you have done extremely well. After a while, you have an authority that's beyond any kind of legal ramifications. You have an authority that people just say, I follow that person because they've been tested and I've watched them being tested. If everything worthwhile is uphill, and it is, and it looks like this during a crisis, it's like this. Well, let me tell you something. If you can get through that crisis and lead through that crisis and help people get through that crisis, you're going to gain respect. You're going to come out of this with more respect from the people that you lead and more authority than you've ever had. Another lesson I'm just practicing every day is it's from the scripture, but it doesn't matter. It applies to you too. And that is give thanks in all circumstances. Boy, that's a relevant word, isn't it? Give thanks in all circumstances. It doesn't say give thanks because you're in a bad situation, but just give thanks because you're in it. In all circumstances, no matter what it is, because it's going to, with the right perspective, it's going to make you and I better. Boy, a lesson I'm learning right now is a crisis lets me know that if my living and my talking match. I write books, I teach, and I give principles out. But when a crisis comes, all those things I teach that just sound good that you write them down, they're getting tested now. I mean, are my values truly great values? It's going to be tested during the crisis. Are my principles and the truth that I teach and embrace it? Is it real truth? Wow. Well, there are other things I have here, but time's kind of getting away from me, and so it's wow. Well, okay, I'll give you just one more. Now, this is personal. I probably shouldn't give it to you because I need to have time to teach on it. I don't have time to teach on it, but I'm going to just put it in as a thought for you. It's good to realize that we're not in control. And it's bad that a crisis has to remind us of that fact. What a crisis does is it humbles us. I know for a fact after 9/11, because literally after 9/11, that next Saturday, I did a huge simulcast across America called America Prays, and I raised over $6 million in 5 minutes for that situation, and I put it through I put it through World Vision. I didn't put it through my nonprofit. I wanted to have a arm's length from it so everybody know I'm not getting anything out of it myself. And so we raised $6 million, and literally the next week, I'm in New York City being led by the leaders of New York City because of what we had done. So I'm going through these areas, and I'm seeing the smoldering in everything that's happening, and so I'm watching, I'm observing it. And in that process is why I'm watching it while I'm observing it. There was a sense of humility among those New Yorkers like I have never seen before in my life. And I'm just telling you, it's good for me, it's good for you. It's good for all of us to realize that we don't always have the answers. We're not quite as big as we think we are. We're not quite as important as we think we are. And that we need faith and we need relationships. And that we are our brother's keeper. These are just things that center us and get us back to basic good values that are valuable. Well, my father was my main mentor, and he just passed away on July 4th this year. He was 98. And, all my life he's been spoken into me. And so I was very blessed to have him. And then I've had great mentors. John Wooden, who coached UCLA, the last 11 years of his life, we were very, very close. And most of my mentors have been what I would call seasonal mentors. I needed them for a season because I was going through something. And I think we make a great mistake in mentoring when we think only one person can mentor me and I want only one mentor. And when people ask me to be their mentor, I say, no, I'm not that good. Most things I don't, you don't want me to mentor you in most stuff. I'm not any good at it. I'm only good in a few things. I'll mentor you in what I'm good, but you don't need. So I think it's having a maturity to understand that you need different mentors for different reasons. And most of those mentors will be with you for a season. And that's good. And when you get through that season, you go, you're going to go into another season where you'll need another kind of mentor. No doubt about it.
I love that. That's a great way to look at it. A friend of mine just told me, he's like, I have 3 types of mentors. I have the old wisdom, the 78-year-old Maxwells of my life that have built dynasties and been through all the ups and downs and have a lot of wisdom. And he's like, I have the lateral mentors that are kind of on the same journey that I'm at, similar stage in business or career or family or whatever. And then he's like, I have my younger mentors that are like in the hip, in the know, in the hustle, and he's like, I have all sorts of mentors. And I like that.
I do too.
Just kind of seasonal of like,
that's solid.
What are you? Yeah, and I really like that. And I'm like, man, who are my young hip mentors? Even though I'm still fairly young, but I'm like, I don't know what's going on with TikTok and like Snapchat, and like and I don't know what's going on, and I'm sure you've done you've been through all sorts of lawsuits, and you've been through all sorts of different real estate deals, and I'm sure you've been through all sorts of business like ups and downs. And my father is an entrepreneur, and when you said your father, your first, I would say 100% my dad as well has been
That's good.
My number one mentor.
That's good.
Blessed to have somebody in my life as well.
So obviously you mentioned earlier, millions of leaders you've trained over the years, you've impacted so many, but who has significantly impacted your life, your own continued growth and development, your own personal leadership journey?
Well, my father, who died on July 4th, would be my greatest mentor. I had him all my life. But I was fortunate. I had John Wooden, the great basketball coach at UCLA that mentored me. In fact, I have had in my lifetime about 20 specific mentors. And one of the things that I discovered about mentoring, Jared, is that when some people say, "Well, I just need one mentor to kind of give me all all I need about life. And I said, that's not possible. Nobody's that good. So what you do is you find out what are the essentials that I want to learn. For example, the Power 5 that I gave, mindset. Okay, who could mentor you to help your mindset get better? And when I started off, nobody knew me. I didn't know anybody, so I couldn't go get some mentors. So I let authors of books become my mentors. And most of my mentors in my early days, I read but didn't personally know. And so I tell people, don't wait for the one person to answer all your issues, but take who can I help? Who can help me with relationships, and who can help me with personal growth? Take that Power 5, and then go find somebody that really excels in that, and ask them to help you. If you can't find them, get a book in one of those areas and let that become your mentor.
Right. It's interesting you mentioned, because I've been blessed to have a handful of amazing mentors in my life. But it's also interesting that in a 5-minute conversation with a homeless man that I met only once, that interaction had just as profound of an impact in my life as those 5 mentors have. So when I look back and reflect, it's interesting to think that on these life lessons and those who teach us them, because I got so much out of that one interaction with someone.
Yes.
It's so important to have, you always say, you always want to surround yourself with smarter, better people than yourself.
Yeah.
It's always great to have these influences.
It really is. It really is.
Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results.